Anything is possible, literally anything. If you want to be more happy, that's possible. If you want to be happy every day, if you want to be confident, if you want to get ripped, anything is possible. I literally thought maybe it's not possible to be happy all the time, but I'm striving for that to happen, and I think that's possible.
Andy Mai, there is a big, huge smile on my face because you are back. Welcome back to ECOMMERCE. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Quite early. Didn't get much sleep last night, but I was really excited to jump on this. I think last night I nearly forgot about it. Luckily, on Monday night, which was last night, had a reminder. It was 7 a.m. tomorrow because I know that things are put that high in my calendar. Well, I know 7 a.m. is pretty normal for most people, but I usually wake up around 8. And then I get to the table around 10 a.m. So anything before 10 a.m., it's blocked out and I don't expect to see anything above. So I have to write a note saying, hey, tomorrow at 7 a.m., there's going to be something. And that luckily reminded me. I set the alarm. And now we're here.
Awesome. Yeah. 7 a.m. is like my stretch goal for waking up. My alarm is set for a hard 8 o'clock, but 7 a.m. is like my ambitious wake up time. It's I'm gently being aroused out of sleep and not being, well, I tried getting an alarm clock that has the sounds of nature, but even those can be pretty grating first thing in the morning.
What I've been using is this light bulb. It will sort of slowly light up. It will be this bright blue color, simulate the sun's blue, the sky's blue light, and it slowly fades on at my desired time. And that's been a pretty good way to wake up, I think. Yeah.
Mine does that too. Great concept, but I'll still I'll look over and it'll be shining in my face, and I'll just be like, "Screw you, clocks."
I totally can relate. I thought I'd be able to wake up with joy, but it still sucks being woken up to
I definitely want to go through some mindset stuff because there's different, I guess, chapters or phases, I guess, of economics. I definitely leaned into a lot of the mindset and working habit stuff because I felt we want to establish these things so that we are in a better state of mind when we get to more of the granular stuff. So we'll definitely talk more about that. But I'm gonna chamber it because we've got some really important stuff we want to cover today. So for those of you who are joining us maybe for the first time, or this is the first time you're listening to my guest Andy, I respectfully request that you go listen to the first episode because I choose to not make people have to repeat themselves because people's time is very valuable. So with that, give you guys a second, go listen. Okay, great. Welcome back. So before we get into the meat of the episode, there are a couple of mindset questions and stuff that I was interested in following up with you about. One of them that sticks out to me is, and I have to say, this is actually probably one of the most resonant takeaways that has stuck out to me of all the conversations that I had, because we were talking about how to optimize meal preparation. Doesn't seem like a big thing, but it can actually add up because the logic was if your time is more valuable than the money you're saving cooking food, then you're better off either just ordering. So I've talked about this to a number of people, and I credit you, although if I'm being honest, I may have slipped a couple of times. And for the most part, people see the logic. But there was one a person who had asked me a question about batch meal prep that I didn't have an answer for. So two parts. Number one, are you still has your philosophy on this, has it evolved in any way? Has it taken a new shape? And then secondly, is it possible that by, let's say, preparing things, let's say Monday you cook for 2 hours, you get all your meals sorted out for the rest of it, is it actually possible to condense it in such a way that it is a valuable use of time?
Beautiful, great question, Joseph. I love that question.
I've had 8 months to think about it because it's really been top of mind. Because it's not just, sorry, I know you're about to answer, but because this isn't just about the food itself. It's about the underlying logic that can be used to actually look for efficiencies in a lot of ways. Efficiency with laundry, efficiency with sleep, with preparing for the day, getting dressed, exercising. It can apply to all sorts of places.
Right. So right now I'm actually wanting to open up the Excel sheet that I put together for that video to see if I still have it. Okay, it looks like I can't find it right now, but I was actually going to go through like a live example with you. To answer the first question, I think, let's see, several months back, I think I was probably eating like meal prep containers where you would just, it'll be like fresh food, you microwave it, and you get the food. Um, did that for a few months. And then my mom was like, why don't you just give me the money and I'll cook for you? And that's exactly sort of what I've been doing, where like rather than just paying the company, I just sort of give the money to my mom and she's been cooking and delivering meals. Now, the question of bulk meal prepping. I think that when you bulk meal prep, the time of buying the groceries, the time of washing dishes daily, um, what's the other big time? I think those are probably the two biggest time consuming things. Those still probably exist. Now, you probably do save time, a lot of time, cooking every day. So maybe the time you reduce by bulk meal prepping on a Monday would probably be reduced by 100% or 50%, or be cut in half. Um, and that's pretty conservative. What also you have to take into account that you're going to be eating, like you'll get really bored because the food is just going to be the same every day. So you're going to have to take that into account. So if you cut the time in half, rather than having to earn above $7.50 per hour to make it not worth it for you to cook, or valuing um, that extra hour to watch TV, spend time with family, do other hobbies, if that is worth more than $7.50, then you shouldn't sort of cook. You should go meal preps. If you bulk meal prep, maybe that will double. Rather than 750, now you have to be willing to be like, okay, if I cook, I'm going to save $15 rather than 750. Now that might change a lot of people. People might be like, okay, $15 is quite a lot for me. I prefer saving $15 rather than having this extra hour, because I wouldn't be able to do anything with this extra hours anyways. So I think that'll be my answer. One would just double up the sort of costs per hour. And even if you were able to optimize it, like you somehow um, cooked faster, you somehow found a way to, you bought plastic plates. If you bought plastic plates and you didn't have to do dishes, that would probably cut the time into like one third, because still you have to go to the grocery and then buy the stuff and then do the initial cooking, but now you don't have to wash dishes every day. So now instead of 750, it'll be triple that. It'll be like 21, 22, $23 an hour. And yeah, that's a my answer, I guess.
I'm impressed by that. The main thing that sticks out is the the lateral efforts that have to be put in order to make the plan work out. So having to go to the grocery store, having to wash dishes, and there is like a third pillar in there somewhere. I can't quite put my finger on it. One that it doesn't take up too much time, but I guess it's worth mentioning too, is that when we order meals, the meals usually come in ready to eat. They're usually warm, whereas in the microwave setting, depending on the level of preservation that you have to apply to it, maybe it has to be frozen, then you have to take it out, you have to thaw it, and by the time lunchtime rolls around, it's like half thawed, and then there's still an iceberg in the middle. You got to put that into the microwave, and that could take 5 minutes. That could take 10 minutes. So, you add that up over the week, and next thing you know, you've lost an hour just warming up the food. So I think that's kind of where that third pillar might be. That's the only other thing that sticks out to me. But again, the reason why I bring this up is, again, because of that underlying logic is, if you apply this thought process to something as routine as eating, that thought process can apply into other ways. And I'm just going to throw it out into the ether just in case. But did you notice the fundamental rule set that you were using, and has it applied itself in other capacities?
The first thing that comes to my mind, thinking about it now for the last 5 seconds, is the valuing of different tasks. So I used to have like hundreds of different things I have to do. I didn't have a way to organize and know which to do first and which was the most important. And then I started valuing each task. This task was worth 5,000. This task was worth 50,000. This task was only worth 10,000. And I started organizing different tasks into all these different columns based on their value. So that's one thing that it really helped led to. The next big thing is, over the last year, I've been like batting my head against the wall, trying to figure out how to be consistently motivated and productive. There's so many days when I'm killing it, so many days when I'm not killing it. And it was this constant sort of up, down, alternating sort of thing. It wasn't consistent. I wasn't happy. And it just sucked because I felt like I wasn't in control. Some days I would just not get things done, and some days I would. Things would come up. For example, if it wasn't for this interview, since I had a long, long day last night, there's a good chance I might have just took this day off. This is a Tuesday. But since I have this sort of final solution that I came to, but before we go to the final solution, like I was trying everything. I was trying different waking up routines, different waking up times, different morning routines, working out, not working out, cold showers, not having cold showers. I'm putting my phone away, banning my phone, deleting all the apps on my phone, putting a timer on my TV that would only allow the TV to turn on from 6 to 9 p.m., eating in silence, eating while only listening to podcasts, eating just on my phone, and the consequences of that. Should I do that for both lunch and breakfast and lunch, or should I do it just only for breakfast? When should I eat dinner? There's all these different things I was testing, and I found a solution that worked for each, but I wasn't able to combine it all until I came to creating this checklist. I have a checklist of every single little thing that I need to check off throughout the day. And I think when I sort of name it as a checklist, it's a bit unrelatable. It's a bit sort of, that's like crazy. Why do you have a checklist for the whole day? I guess the best metaphor, it's not like a checklist. It's like a workout set. It's like a swimming set. When you go swimming, you just follow all these things. That's the best metaphor. It's like a workout set that you follow. Rarely during a workout do you just leave halfway. The moment you start that workout, you just start checking it until it's done. That's the metaphor I have for it. So I have this sort of daily checklist that I sort of have, and have every little minor thing. Like it will have wake up, 5 minutes of meditation, exercise part 1, go to the restroom, exercise part 2, make oats, clear the dishes, eat oats in silence. And I specifically put it in silence. Boil water plants, fill up thermos, fill up the kettle, brush teeth, cold shower, guitar practice, post something on my Instagram, Reels, log into my Binance, and then put my phone on airplane mode and put my phone away. So that's another little thing. Next, write down all side tasks and save it for later. That's another little thing, because I've noticed when I was just clearing my day, I'll start going into different side tangents rather than just trying to clear my morning routine and clear all my inboxes. So I should put side things onto my thing. Morning routine, lunch, silence, no TV, no podcast, no music. So I'll basically put in all these trap preventions into the checklist. And then the next thing I'm going to implement soon is I can only have lunch after I completed the tasks before lunch, and I can only have dinner until I end the day. And then that should have prevented me from ending so late last night. I can't remember why I had dinner before I ended. I think I picked up my phone because my mum called me or something. I can't remember, but I think that the prevention to that is I'm going to throw my phone until I wrap up the day. So if I get any messages saying, hey, do you want to have dinner? I can't pick up the phone because I don't have my phone with me.
You know, the timing of this is pretty opportune too, because I've this is something that I've been struggling with, and some breakthroughs are having checklist, task lists, just writing down all the things that I could potentially get done today. But what I wouldn't write down the stuff that becomes routine. Like I wouldn't be writing down wake up most of the time. Sometimes I do, but for the most part, I wouldn't do it. And what I like about your system is the sequential nature of it. The first thing has to be done when wake up. Nothing happens before wake up, right? And you have to forgive me that I grew up in the '90s, and there's that. I think it was System of a Down, the chop suey. Every time I hear wake up, I just grab a brush and put on a little makeup. I'm sorry, I can't stop it. Anyways, so so you're doing that, and then each task is the next significant priority, and you can't do the next one until the first one is cleared. And there's one thing I'm wondering about that, which is there is timing a factor? So let's just say, for instance, that the first few tasks you expect to do them by, say, 9 a.m., but it's 10 a.m. and they haven't been done yet. Do you still do them? Or do you say, okay, the other tasks, which I'm expecting to do by 10 a.m., they're starting to take more priority. I have to go to them right away.
So one reason why I do the wake up at 8 a.m. is I also have this like point tracking system where every day there are 30 things. And I try to hit off all 30. If I hit up 25, then I write 25 on the whiteboard. And I could accumulate all these points. Another reason why I created this system is because I also have a problem of not knowing when to take a holiday. I didn't know when to take a 4 or 5 day break. I literally just didn't know. I didn't know if I should continue working, if I should take a break. I would only take a break if it sort of, there was a business trip. I was able to kill two birds with one stone. But what happens if that doesn't come up for the last 2 years because of lockdown or COVID? And all of a sudden now I'm like in this dilemma of like, do I deserve a break? Should I keep working? So with this point system, if I rack up, I should be hovering around 20,000 to 40,000 points. Well, I shouldn't go above 40,000 because then I'm due for a break, and I shouldn't go below 20,000 because then I'm taking off too many breaks. So I'll spend each day that I complete, I'll get like 30, 33 points if I smash out the day. Each day I take off would take away 125 points. So it's a perfect equilibrium where if you work 5 days a week, you can take 2 days off and you can do that forever. Or you can work 6 days a week, take 1 day off, and each week you'll be saving 1 day so that eventually 7 weeks in, you can take off 7 days. So that's another system I added in. To answer the next question of the sequential things, I think that's a great question. Usually I've set it in a way where if I wake up later, like I've had days where I woke up at 11, I'm more refreshed and I'm able to actually lock through all these things much, much quicker. And then I sort of tend to catch up because I put in a lot of breathing room into this checklist. Number 2 is, could I start halfway? That's something I haven't tested yet. Theoretically, yes, because each task is a trigger for the next task. So if I start halfway, just starting with that task, it should be able to trigger the next and next. And I think I'm going to test that today, because today with this sort of meeting and change of schedule, I most likely would skip the cold shower because I've already changed. I might skip the workout. I'm not too sure. Like right now I am sort of bouncing between, should I just like go through everything, might as well, or should I actually try and skip a few things? And now I'm trying to think, is this the logical side of me talking, or is this the emotional side of me talking that's wanting me to skip the workout, which is pretty gruesome, and skip the cold shower, which I also, it's pretty tough. Or is this a logical move? And then to answer that, I'll probably just talk to myself out loud and I'll come to an answer.
I'm curious to hear the results of that when it comes to that point. Not that I'm the best at prediction. Once in a while, I think the strongest element of it is the ability to make a sequence, and that over time the muscle memory starts to build up, and part of doing these things in order just makes it that much easier for it to sink in. So that's kind of where I'm thinking that's where it's going to be at its best. But yeah, I love talking about this, so much so that I'm going to put a pin in it for now. And depending on how much time we've got, we can come back to it. Which I forgot to ask you, by the way, but it's already 30 minutes into our booking. Do you have to run in the next 30 minutes, or can I keep you for a little bit longer?
Yeah, you keep me a bit. I have to run.
Okay, lovely. All right. So one of the main things that we had talked about last time that it was an exciting conversation because it speaks to the continuation of education in the digital space, and you set it up. It was studying.com. which is, by the way, you're so excited that your name right now is studying.com. So, which I'm all for, brand away, my friend. And so let's hear from, it was 8 months ago. And at that time, I think you had acquired the domain, but that was all I knew about it. So how is it going? And yeah, I mean, there's like 100 different ways I can ask a question, but I'm just happy to see that you followed through. And so, how are things going with it, and what have you seen unfold so far?
Amazing. So I think there's something you can probably relate to. Back then, my goal was to really gamify education. Like I've always had this dream to create my own game, just like how you've been wanting to create this amazing fantasy book. Like for some reason, I've always played games and I was like, man, like I could create a game way better than this. And just out of chance, I've been thrown into the education space. And one of the biggest things I wanted to do was I wanted to gamify and socialize education. I wanted to add in features like if you watch a video, you'll gain XP. You can level up. You can then there's a leaderboard. Eventually, maybe there's like a currency where it's like if you go free to play, you could actually go through the program and just learn a lot and use whatever you earn to buy more courses for free. And I'm more than happy to pay the creator that difference just to encourage people to that are free to play mode to just study for free. And if people buy courses, they can also watch content and gain sort of EXP, gain some currency, and then spend that buying another course and creates this sort of compounding effect. That was sort of like the goal, as well as creating like a community. And when I looked at Kajabi, looked at Udemy, all these other online course platforms couldn't help me offer this. And I was like, okay, I know my long-term goals. That's my long-term goal. I'm going to have to develop this in-house. So we went ahead and spent a lot of time, found the perfect developer, trying to grow the development team. And then we started working on the portal. And we've been working on the online portal and that whole system telling you about over the last few months. And we launched version 1 maybe 3 months ago. Now version 2 is actually being launched in the next 1 or 2 weeks. So, I wish version 2 would be out now so I could show you all the new extra features. But version 2 is sort of on its cusp. And I have like many, many different ideas on it, keep implementing. And this game of building my own sort of product has been so satisfying because it's something that, I'm coming up with ideas, I'm pitching it, and it's turning into life. And it's turning into life real time. And it's just, yeah, that's sort of the quick summary of the update, I guess.
You are right. I can relate to it due to my extensive knowledge and experience with gaming. And so for those of you who maybe, you don't spend too much time playing games. So one thing that a lot of games struggle with is A, how do they make money? And B is how to create a fair ecosystem for people who are paying and people who aren't. What you'll find in a lot of games is it seems to work as long as the two groups don't have too much interaction. For instance, if there's a game where players are allowed to kill one another, the players who have invested money into it tend to be at an advantage. They have a stronger weapon. They have a helmet that doesn't look like one of those little propeller caps. And whereas the people who are just playing for free, they're the ones that are usually on the back foot. Conversely, skill is one of the great equalizers. So you will have people who will invest money into it, but they're still terrible at the game. And so they will end up getting walleted by somebody who's naturally adept at the game, even if they're not using any money. So this is by no means an indication of studying.com's particular strategy, but this is just the situation as it stands. So what I'm wondering about is are you noticing in whether you're strategic or perhaps already in execution are there actual advantages that free to play people are holding over pay to play people, and conversely have there actually been disadvantages for people who are investing money into it? Maybe their expectations are too high. Maybe they're not getting the results they thought because they're putting the money down, and they have perhaps rightly, perhaps wrongly, an expectation of a result to occur as a a result of them putting money down?
Awesome, great question. So right now I haven't implemented. So Portal version 2 is going to allow the free to play people to come in. Now, the problem I've been going over is like, as you're telling me that, the idea, I haven't implemented yet. The idea is the when someone signs up for stone.com, it'll be just like signing up for facebook.com. There'll be a lot of people giving away free resources. When you post on the newsfeed, you get EXP. When you send messages on the group chat, when you say download some resources and you watch through it, you'll gain EXP. And it's going to be probably a slow process. You can probably it'll take you forever to go through a bunch of free content, but to save up enough EXP to then put it into, say, my program. Now, another thing I was like, okay, if there's already EXP levels, it's going to be way too confusing if I implement a currency. Like, how am I going to figure this out? One solution is maybe like have EXP and currency be the exact same thing. You gain up EXP, and every time you purchase a course, now you lose that EXP, you get knocked back down. So in order to stay on the top of the leaderboard, either one, you have to just watch more you somehow consume and be more active than the rate of you watching, you paying and downloading courses. Or two, you then become a sort of course creator where you have your own, you share your own resources, you share your own value that you've learned from consuming these other courses. When people go ahead and sort of download your content and watch your content, you get EXP as people watch your video. So as a creator, you get like EXP from everyone. It's like YouTube. Like if you have a channel, you're getting views from everyone that watches your videos. So maybe I can see that in the end, people at the top of the leaderboard will be mainly creators and a few people who just spend all day consuming content. And that's sort of what I envision. It's like nowhere near coming to fruition yet. That'll probably be like a Portal version 3 or version 4 thing, I think. But yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts and yeah, you're right. This is something that you can definitely relate to. I could just tell like me, like last time when we talked about MapleStory, MMOs, RPGs, you're totally on top of those things. And I guess that's sort of where we overlap.
Have you ever heard of newgrounds.com?
I have not.
Okay. So newgrounds.com is where I cut my teeth as a kid. And it is an animator's website. They have animations, they have games, they have, I think they do like just straight up writing, art. Now, Newgrounds is also, by the way, it is not family friendly. There is actually a great deal of mature content. In the idea of breaking new grounds, they are actually one of the last remaining frontiers of freedom of expression. If people want to do something horrific and violent, they're free to do it. I mean, you know, there's always the big three, the three things like you don't do no matter what, otherwise you'll get kicked off the website. But for the most part, they allow for people to kind of do whatever it is that they please. And yes, and there was even adult content for those of you wondering. So you can filter it so you don't look at the adult content, but just so you all know. Now, that's not the reason why I'm bringing it up. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because Newgrounds has a system that has some similarities to what you're describing here. So somebody would sign up for an account and people would submit their animations, their games into the portal. And when they first arrive, they are being voted on. And if the votes are too low, it gets removed. In their terms, it gets blamed. But if the votes are high relative to the amount of votes, then they will actually receive a highlight indicating that this is of superior quality and that more people will start checking it out. And the beauty of it, at least back when I used to be active on it every day, is that on the left-hand column would be the new stuff. And on the right-hand column would be the top 50 animations of all time. And people would, maybe they'll want to watch the top 50 stuff. They would want to see what's hot for the week, what's hot for the month. And then they wanted to look at the new stuff. Now, how were they incentivized? Well, as people were voting, they would submit, I think, like 5 or 10 votes a day. And that was the max. They couldn't continue to vote so that people don't abuse the system, but they would build up experience. And so over time, they would actually have more voting power. So the idea was the more somebody participated, the more weight their vote would carry. So if somebody was an active user every day for years, their vote, not make or break, but was enough to represent 10 people who were relatively new. And this was an interesting loop system because you do have some people that will abuse it, but for the most part, if somebody was like, if it was funny because he would actually get a reputation for being a bad voter because if somebody was constantly like downvoting things, they could represent that in their aura. So you had like a dark aura, you had a neutral aura, you had a light aura. So
Wow.
yeah, but you would also have people who would constantly over positive vote things too. So, but if somebody had a light aura, they were kind of a weenie, and they weren't being critical enough, and they were constantly giving things like a kindness vote. It's like, oh, well, you tried, it sucks, but we're going to give you a nice vote anyways. So there was this amazing balancing act between the dark voters and the light voters, and that somehow the content always came out representing the value that was expected of it. If it was a good cartoon, it made it through. If it was a bad cartoon, it would get lost in the shuffle. And each individual voter not only had varying power, but their power had different routes that it would go into. So I don't know how to exactly turn this into a question, but this was what came to my mind just based on what you're describing.
Yeah, I think that definitely gives me like a lot of ideas. Like the next thing I wanted to do was like create like an AI where not AI but like an algorithm where we can sort of tell what video that the person might want to watch next based on what based on track record. Like we have a track record of all 500 students on what videos after what videos they watch. So technically with that we should be able to use algorithms to predict what videos people might want to watch. The next thing is I really wanted it to be like an Instagram sort of social media where people, on Instagram, people have a feed of all their photos and all their things they do. There's like tag photos, etc. Studying.com will hopefully be like a feed of all the courses people have consumed and all the courses and resources they offer. And it'll be like a cool, like it'll sort of look like badges. You can go to other people's profile and see what they learn, what courses they've delved into, what resources they may offer. And then, by downloading their resources, that's now in your sort of folder. And then there's this whole social currency and social, like everyone's sort of trying to help each other. That's sort of what I'm trying to sort of create. And then maybe with like, if you become really prominent, and gain a lot of XP, and by default, you'll probably get a lot of followers, that would give you a lot of sort of power because now every time you make a post like, hey, I released this new resource, everyone go ahead and download it, you're going to get a lot of reach. Also, you have the power to now upvote or promote someone else's product and be like, hey, I just downloaded this course, it's awesome. I think everyone should also download it as well. Just because, and everyone's listening, just because one, he has a lot of followers, and two, he's at the top of the leaderboard. So that's the thing that comes to mind when you brought that up.
Two things popped in my mind. So one of them is about your AI algorithm, and one of the components of browsing the internet that I really think is strong and perhaps a little underrated is tagging. So let's say, for instance, I put out a tutorial sequence of tutorial videos, and each one I have a bunch of tags underneath it. And I don't mean like hashtag on Instagram. I mean like I don't know if you ever used ClickUp, but ClickUp actually puts like these little labels, and they have different colors to it. And what I can see me doing is if I'm viewing somebody else's video, I'm clicking on the tags that I think resonated with me. And then my profile would have this aggregate of different tags that I have I've taken to. So if informative, if I click on that one every time, then what the algorithm will be able to do is look at what videos have the same kind of like tag methodology, and then and those ones would pop up. And then at the same time, the creators can see who's clicking on the tags based on what they think is relevant. So if I come into this thinking, well, this is going to be mostly a informative one, but everyone is clicking on it for the word educational, like, oh, that's interesting. So I guess people are leaning more into the educational side than the informative side. So that's the thought that comes to my mind. I love the heck out of doing that. The other thought that came to my mind too is a relationship between the product and marketing, because the concern that I was wondering if you're having is if the activity around the content is starting to have more influence than the quality of the content itself. Like if somebody is like overhyping it, and then everybody goes to the video and goes, well, this guy really promoted the heck out of it, so I guess it's good. And if that's the case, then maybe then I should do what this person says. And then conversely, you have something that is like highly accurate, and maybe it's not getting the attention that it deserves. And so I'm wondering if that's a concern. But what I think this is important to keep in mind is that this has always been the relationship between the product and the marketing. You do need to have good marketing, and you need to have good product. Wasn't my idea. My mentor, Ricky Hayes, he's the one that's nailed it into my head. Marketing is the most important part, because if you have a good product and nobody knows about it, then who cares?
Yeah, great question. So something that I've been thinking about for like the past 2 months, and I was literally thinking about it like 30 seconds ago before you brought that up, was a rating system, a sort of 5-star system for courses. But I didn't want to do it just that, because I'm a big fan of not doing something that's already existed. Like Udemy already has ratings on their courses. So that's something I'll have to think about. Like, how do I create a rating system but make it even more powerful than Udemy? So I might have to log into my Udemy account, go through the free course section, the $5 course section, the $10 course section, sort by reviews, and see what I'd like different, see what I'm missing. Go to Amazon, see what they do or what makes their reviews so powerful. Is it the reviews, or is it the ranking system on what ranks first? And I think hopefully with the review system, that would solve a lot of issues on people promoting courses that have 1 star.
Right, okay, that checks out. Now, I put this offer out to you before we were recording, but you're more than welcome to. I'll hand hosting over to you, and we can have a look at it. And I guess I'll also put this out on the table too. No obligation, no pressure, anything like that. But if you wanted to show us what you were working on rather than what you have, because chances are this won't be released until it comes out anyways. So I just wanted to put that offer out. Obviously, it's your discretion.
Awesome. I'd love to.
All right. So hosting has been handed over to you. So take it away.
So this is the login page. Currently it's app.studying.com/login. Eventually, I probably would just remove app.studying and just go straight studying.com, just like how Facebook does it. Like, I was like thinking, like, why do I need, eventually when this becomes free, why would I need a homepage? Because like Facebook and Google, they don't have any homepage for their website. It goes straight to the product.
Right. Well, the user, I guess, I mean, on Facebook especially, the user is determining their own homepage by where you end up first. And then in Google's case, it's just happens to be like, you go to google.com and then the search is there waiting for you. So they don't try to inundate people with news, or they don't try to start influencing people's mindset. Because when people go on to that search engine, they already know what it is they're there for. So Google just says, okay, we're just here to be a tool. By the way, did you know about this 1982 Scottish inventor? This is their special day. Other than that, we're here to facilitate your searching needs. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah. And like Facebook, if you were a new user and you didn't know what Facebook.com was, they don't have like a homepage. When you go to Facebook.com, it's just like a login page that we're looking at right now. But obviously, it would have to be like, it might have to show more information. I'll probably look at Facebook and model it after that, because they probably crack the code on getting signups. Like, let's log in. So this is the current portal we have right now. This is version 1 of the portal. We do mastermind calls. Here's a news feed posting up the Zoom mastermind links. Here's a ranking of all these sort of students and all their levels. And surprisingly, you would expect that, adults, they sort of really won't care about this. But it's surprising how people would just like churn through the course and watch a lot of videos just to climb these rankings. I was quite shocked of how this actually had like an effect. Like I thought this was only a thing that would happen for younger people, but people actually enjoy getting that EXP. Now, if you post something on the newsfeed, let's say I post hi, you have successfully gained 30 EXP. So this basically incentivizes the growing community. Right now, there's no, like, as we turn EXP into a currency, that's when I can really see an exploding of like interaction and community, because now everyone's incentivized to interact. So that will be the next step. Now, if we go into the modules, let's go into the dropshipping mentoring program.
I have a quick question for you first. So with regards to the experience that people are collecting, will it be retroactive, where once it converts into a currency system, their experience will be, spendable?
That's the goal.
Okay.
Because I was thinking of using a second currency, but I feel like that is where things get too confusing, where there's like your XP and then the amount of money you have. But then at the same time, if XP was turned into a currency, you put in all this hard work to level up to 50 and you spend it all on this one big course, and now you're back to level 1.
Right. Yeah, I see.
What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is like, it's a one-time problem, right? Because once it's resolved, it's not going to be an issue again. So the simplest way that I can see doing it would just be say give people a lump sum based off their experience level. Say, hey, we're entering this currency system, and because of your current level, we're just going to give you, I don't know, 500 points. So go nuts. And then if you really want to get like this like high level of energy, you can always say, we're implementing the system in a month's time. So if you haven't, if you have some time to level up, now would be an ideal time to do it, because we're going to give you some extra points for it. So it might get somebody to, eke a little bit, a few more levels out. They're 75, they can stand to get to 80. So luckily, it's one of those things you're only going to have to resolve once.
So you would like to have two different sort of currencies, where there's like a currency and XP. I guess that's like most games. People have their level and they have how much money they have.
Right, because again, if you don't want people to to feel like their experience is mitigated, and then conversely, if new users sign up afterwards, they would also want to be able to participate in the experience system as well. So, yeah, I mean, RPGs have like 500 different variables that are increased. You have experience, you have gold, you have stats, you have charisma. So like two stats. One is spendable, one is a measure of progress. I think is digestible.
Okay, that's a good idea, because now we can have we could keep the same leaderboard of people who consume a lot of content. How about as a course creator? Do you think a course creator should get XP, or should they get currency for every person that downloads their resource? The pro of if they should get every EXP is like now, like high level people are creators and we want a lot of creators. The con of that is, what if you just had one course and you just pushed it like crazy, and you've basically jumped all these people who are actual users, who are studying, learning, watching videos, and they're sort of pushing to the top, and they don't want to become a teacher, but they're not being recognized because all these teachers just have an advantage because they can just have one course, have 300 people watch it. Now they're pushed to the top and they haven't consumed the content or learned anything, and they haven't studied.
That's a great question. And my first gut reaction is, you could just do another osmosis where there's creator XP. And so maybe it's like a separate economy, but now we're worrying the thing where, okay, well, every time we have a problem, is the solution going to be another currency, another metric? So that is a solution, but it could be a bit too unwieldy over time if people keep going back to that. So just thinking about how it could, like, what is it? A stitch in time saves 9. So the other thing that I think is worth pointing out is, and this I think speaks to a much broader issue about how exactly is a person's value quantified when it comes to any form of compensation? So, for instance, you have, say, like an illustrator. They've been illustrating for 10 years and they're very good at it. And when they're charging money, they're not just charging money to cover their costs and to make a living. Their value and what they're charging is based off of the time that they put into it, their schooling, all the times they work for free or for exposure. And I would say I have that issue myself as well. Like, because one of the things we talked about last time is, as more creators come on, I could come on, and do my thing as a podcaster and as an interviewer. And so I would be accumulating experience, and people might resent that, but I would say, well, listen, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've struggled quite a bit. And so to have this way to actually get results from the work that I've put in is very encouraging to me. So I would look at it as a way to encourage the people who are just the learners to ask themselves, what can they offer? Maybe they know something that they've been doing for a long time, and maybe they haven't even had an opportunity yet to share that value with other people. So perhaps it should be a motivation for them to say, well, why don't you become a creator and then and share what you know, and people can vote on and vote on that. If we're looking for an equivalency in a video game, in say like an MMO like World of Warcraft, so people start with their starting classes, like they're warriors, they're rangers, they're sorry, not rangers, they're hunters, they're warlocks and stuff like that. But then people also pick up a profession where they do blacksmithing, they do mining, they do tailoring, and it's a way to generate revenue and to keep themselves busy and to be able to provide additional value. So I think it's also to bring this all down to the bottom line, which is, do you want what do you want to be the optimal experience for a user? Do you want everyone who's a learner to also be a teacher, or are you okay with there being a divide between the teachers and the learners, and then there just happens to be people who meet in the middle?
Yeah, I think my goal is ideally everyone's sort of in the middle, where everyone's in their home. If you go to their profile, they probably consume a lot of courses. Like they probably have like 10 different courses in their, courses section, but they have 2 or 3 resources on there, and whether it's free or they try to charge $1 for it. But basically they have some PDF they want to share, or some notes or some ebook. That's sort of the ideal goal, where everyone's doing a bit of both. And then basically what you just asked me was like a great sort of, the light bulb it lit up was like, the answer is always, what is a goal in the next 10 years? Based on what the long-term goal is, that would answer my question. So I need to figure out what my long-term goal, and if that is my long-term goal, if the goal is to have people be both a creator and a learner, maybe the solution is to sort of scale things. Like the XP you get from watching a video. Let's see if we can watch a video right now. Here's a short 1-minute video. I think we set up a function. With the function, we can't really skip. So I think people used to like be able to skip to the very end and claim EXP. So now we sort of create this system where, as you can see, you skip it brings you back. But I guess it saves some time. But while we're waiting for this video to finish, my theory is maybe like when watching a video, you'll get, say, 30 EXP. The next thing with the scale is the longer the video, the more EXP you get. That's something we're working on. But maybe watching a video is worth 30 EXP, but if someone watches or downloads your PDF, you only get 1 EXP. So I'll scale things in a way where the top 10 is always a mix of learners and creators, 50-50. And also people who just post a lot on the newsfeed and are really interactive, and scale things where there's healthy people at the top. And based on, if all of a sudden there's the top 9 out of 10 people are creators, then I know I have to scale down the creator EXP. And I think that's sort of how I'll move. I'll just look at the top 10, and based on how even the spread is, change things based on that.
Mm-hmm. And then you can always have like special ladders as well. Like if you're a creator, you appear on this ladder. Even if you have also happen to be a learner, but this is a creator specific one, a learner specific one, and so on. Because it's funny. So I one of the things that I've struggled with like in competitive gaming is the assumption that everybody has the same goal, where everybody is trying to be, and I relate this to Pokemon of all things, where it's like the main character in the show wants to be a Pokemon master. They want to catch all the Pokemon. They want to defeat all the gym leaders. They want to be, they want to beat the Elite Four. And it's not a healthy ecosystem if everybody wants to be a Pokemon master. A healthy ecosystem is where people have different priorities. Some people actually just want to be gym leaders and they want to specialize. You have some people who actually are professionals, like they're fisher people or they're farmers. They just so happen to have a couple of Pokemon that are really helpful in their profession. And so they say, hey, why don't you test your Pokemon against my fishing Pokemon? And that is not only a healthy competitive ecosystem, but that is just a healthy world economy. So it's important to help people figure out what are their own individual goals. And you have the people who want to be the masters and they want to be at the top. But if that is the only competitive mechanism, then a lot of other people will not have something for them to really sink their teeth into.
Yeah, that's the exact, we're always on the same page. Like I was thinking about like, what if the top 10 becomes too intimidating, where it's so out of your reach where you don't even bother to try? That's something that came to my mind as I was saying. It's like, that can definitely be a problem where it's like, how do we make it fun for the people who are at the bottom? Now, the next thing that comes to mind is TikTok. TikTok has created this system where you don't really care about followers, but at the same time you do a bit because it's cool to have followers. But you use it because the home feed is just amazing. Like you love the video, it's so tailored to you, and like you might post a thing here and there, and it will get reach because TikTok likes sharing sort of new people's content. Where they've created the perfect balance of like you care about following, where like some people do TikTok as a job, but at the same time, people use TikTok just as a consumer. And they just watch and consume content. Like that's something I should definitely study.
Yeah, I waver on my own opinion of TikTok because it's very good as a user, but it's like it can get pretty addictive pretty quickly. So
it is very addictive.
Yeah, I've like installed and uninstalled it like a number of times in the last couple of weeks. Yeah. There was something that I wanted to ask you about with regards to studying.com, but it looks like the video is done. So refresh my memory, was there something you wanted to show us about with the experience game here?
Yeah, so I think when we, as that video, like I think you might have missed it, but in the video recording, people will see, like after we ended, I think the amount of EXP we gave to watching this video was 50 EXP.
Okay.
And then it will go to your EXP bar, and sort of it sort of incentivizes. And now when people go back to the thing, there's like a tick button, and then everyone wants to get to a point where they see stars on all their modules because it's like a satisfaction of, okay, this is checked. And they're sort of gone through each module one by one, trying to just add as many stars as possible, just to really complete the program. So yeah, this is sort of like a gist of what the program looks like. My course, particularly, we have we've set up a system where there's 5 layers to the course, where layer 1 is just like all these weeks, which are split up into different sort of topics for like Facebook ads, product research, Facebook scaling. And then let's say you go into, say, order fulfillment, frequently asked questions. This would be layer 2. And then under layer 2, there'll be layer 3 where, for example, AliExpress GST. We'll have 2 videos on just this one topic, and there'll be layer 4. So we have 4 layers in the course. And the reason I do that is because, for example, when you go to product research, I could show you how to do product research once, but it might not be enough for you to get the hang of it. Maybe because I missed something, So as a result, product research, I do it 5 times with 5 different scenarios, 5 different students from 5 different countries. So if you watched me showing and doing it the first time and you didn't understand, you can watch it another 4 times. And there's a good chance that by the time you've watched 5 episodes, you know how to do product research inside out. Now, the next question is, how do you teach someone what is a good product and what is not? So I literally have a module just for critiquing products where literally I rate thousands of products. There's like 24, let's keep going. Let's see how many episodes there are. There's a lot. I think there's like 50 episodes and I literally rate 1,000 products. So people, by the end of 54 episodes, now they're like the question of, I don't know how to look at a product and give it a rating. Well, have you watched 54 episodes of me doing it? And if the answer is no, then that's sort of the solution. So I like this layering system because another thing a lot of courses fail to do, they only had 2 layers. It was like weeks and then videos for each week. And then if you're lucky, it might have 3 layers. They wouldn't have 4 layers of videos, which then would make my course, I wouldn't be able to upload my course onto any platform because no platform offered 4 layers. But at the same time, 4 layers can now make things really unorganized. And that's something I have to work on.
And so this is what I was wondering about as well, which you semi-answer here is because I was watching some of your YouTube videos about how much content you're uploading to this, and you're uploading quite a bit. I think you said, what was it, like 500 hours worth of content? And so how exactly are you, I guess, vetting your content? And before I let you answer, I just want to note the layering system to me is helpful because it doesn't put an endpoint on how much content has to be uploaded in relation to anything. So right for now, you have 54 episodes of product rating, but a couple of months go by and it's still something that you're doing. And of course, it's still probably evolving as well. So there's going to be another potential 54 episodes. And it's just this continuous thing where somebody can say, man, I've done 20 of these, I get it. Or they say, I've done 20 of these, I still don't get it. So yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm just like, so I just wanted you to take me through how you're determining what to upload. And if I'm almost getting the impression that you're just pretty much uploading everything because it's all probably value in one way or another.
Most definitely. This is a process I've tried to train a team member. It's been really difficult because I sort of know the topic and product inside out. So I've had to personally vet videos. And how I come up with so much content is every week I do these mastermind calls. And people come to a mastermind call asking questions that wasn't answered in the course. So I'll answer it, I'll chop it up, and I'll throw that back into the course. So we have every little question like, how does price affect product rating? Chances this product will be a winning product. How do I learn how to rate products? All this little minor question here. Thoughts on sharp products. Thoughts on personalized products.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, no, that can be valid, right? Somebody
Thoughts
wants
on
to send that,
accessories.
kid opens it up, ends up getting cut.
Exactly. Thoughts on seasonal products, copyright products, avoid competing against well-known brands. Like since I do these mastermind calls, I'm having all these weird questions I'm throwing into the course, and it creates this flywheel effect where the more students come in, the more questions I ask, the better the course, the more unique questions I get, the more unique questions I get, the more the course gets bigger. And on top of that, I'll get a lot of repeated questions. And the more repeated questions I get, the longer that section would become. And the more longer that section becomes, it becomes an evident problem that people now sort of bring their attention to because there's 54 episodes to it. And it creates this crazy flywheel effect. And hopefully by doing this, this becomes a foundation on what other course creators might then want to follow and do.
Well, I think it's fascinating, and it just speaks to human psychology as well. And one thing that I think is really helpful about this is I'm not exactly sure how I want to characterize it, but I can see somebody is watching all those videos and then they come back to a mastermind course and they said, look, I've watched all 54 of them and I still have a unique question. So even the more content that you're making is allowing for there to be more exploration of the concept for other people to come in at a different angle and then ask that question. And then next thing they know, that answer is on that, and the cycle continues. It's been a while since I heard the term flywheels. Just to kind of like run through the concept really quickly, it just sounds like you hit these touch points, and each touch point leads to the next one, and it's a positive cycle. Is that the majority of it, or am I missing anything?
So I learned this from Jeff Bezos, and he talks about it with Amazon. But the best example is probably something like Uber, where the more people that use Uber, the more money the drivers are going to make. The more money the drivers are going to make, the more drivers are going to want to join Uber. The more drivers that are going to join Uber, there's going to be faster car times. The faster the car time, the more people want to use Uber. And the more people want to use Uber, the more money each driver makes. And it creates this positive feedback loop.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that clears that one up. So excellent. Did you have anything else you wanted to show us about this? Otherwise, I think we can turn off the screen share for now.
I'd love to turn it off. I think that's about everything. I think Portal version 2, we have tools which I need to work on more, where like it has like a bunch of different things. Like another thing I wanted to create, which I need to do, is a product rated library. Like I wanted to get a team member to go through all 1,000 products I've rated, get the image, get the name of the product, put in a rating, so people can search in, say, dog, and there'll be every dog product I've sort of rated will be in this library. But at the same time, what if I somehow have other people upload products and get like a general rating from the community, and people get XP when they rate, and just have this infinite library where we've basically rated every product, and technically you can just go from highest rating to lowest rating and look at these hot products. But then the thing is, over time, these products lose their rating because they get saturated. So that's another problem. But there is a tools page. But the new features for Portal version 2 is we want to go ahead and create things such as a global news feed and a sort of following news feed. So to incentivize people to use a following function. The next thing is we want the ability for each individual to go ahead and upload their own resources and their own courses. Another function is we want people to be able to buy and add in PayPal as a function where individual students can buy and sell and offer their own program. So a lot of things happening in version 2, but I'll probably save that, or maybe for the future. But that's like a gist of what's to come. But yeah, I really appreciate you letting me share this, and you being asking those amazing questions in relation to this. So let me stop the sharing now. Thank you so much, Joseph.
Well, you're welcome so much. It's what I'm here for. And conversely, I appreciate for one that you how do I say this without being too hard on myself? Well, I appreciate that you appreciate my insight. I hesitate to I do my best not to like come across as a know-it-all, only because I've done that in the past in other career pursuits, and I really try to practice humility. But even so, I appreciate having a chance to kind of like apply my own thought process to it, because I really believe in what you're doing, and I think it's great. So I'm actually just going to check time real quick. How are we doing over here? Yeah, we went over an hour. Okay, so there is something else, a couple of other things I just wanted to follow up on. So one of them is, I know that one of your missions is you want 1,000 success stories, and your wall is coming along. You got your videos on it. So how's that mission coming along right now? How far have you gotten into the 1,000 success story mark?
Let me check. So last time I think I was at maybe 20 something, 30 something. Now I think we've crossed the 40 mark, where we have probably over, we're getting close to 45, maybe it's 41, 42. And that's sort of where we're at the moment. I think that's something that I need to double down more on, be more sort of following up on people, get more success stories. But right now we're at like 41, 42 people from all over the world. Ideally, I do want to hit 100 by now. I am a bit sad that I've only accumulated maybe an extra 10 or 15 since we've last talked, but that's where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, if you average it out, it's like 1.3 per month, but that's still someone's life who's changed significantly, and their effect is having resonant effect on their people. I remember one of your stories that we had talked about is how, you know, you were able to return the favor for your mother who had a lot of work raising you guys, and so you have similar stories, I think, for each person as well. So that you have that number, but then you also have the ripple effect of all of it, and I think that is much more profound. Just from my point of view, but nonetheless, I welcome as every addition to that list as sorry, when it gets late in the day, sometimes I lose my train of thought. I just each edition is welcome in its own right. So there's that. Well, thank you as well. Okay, so sorry, go ahead.
One thing I want to add in is like, you're totally right. I totally forgot. Like at least 5 of those 40 ended up becoming teachers of their own, and now they've helped, 20, 30, 40 people of their own. They probably have, 100 students each. And you're right, and then obviously I don't take that into account. But yeah, you're totally right, Joseph. Thank you for bringing light to that.
I'm happy to do my part. All right, so I'm actually going to ask you one more question, and then I'll let you go because I know you got a busy day ahead of you. So one thing that, and this is coming back to some of the mindset stuff that we talked at the beginning, and this is something that I personally have an issue with, which is I've got somewhat of a routine worked out, and there was a period of time where I was able to stick to that routine, and then specifically, a friend had a wedding like last weekend, and it's a wedding. There's drinks, there's partying, and so like, and I'm 30. I'm 31, but I identify as 32, and I wasn't in the best shape the day after or the day after that, and it's been now a week, and I'm still not back on schedule. What I'm wondering about is, have you encountered situations where your routine was just like broken, and how you were able to get back on routine, and if possible, how you were able to maybe do it in a reasonable amount of time?
Most definitely. Like during this up and down process on the last not only year, but over the last 2-3 years, there've been times where I've been just at it. I've been grinding. And I've been so consistent, waking up like 6 a.m. every single day, doing my morning routines every single day. And the moment it breaks, all of a sudden I go from doing 100% of the routine to 80% to 70%, and now there's no routine at all. And I get into this rut. It's like a 2, 3, 4 month rut where I'm trying to just figure out how to just get back on track, and I'm just not motivated, not excited. And I don't know why this is currently working. One, maybe it would break and I would go through the same cycle. Or maybe I've broken cycles many, many times to know the solution to things. So the one thing that comes to my mind is like, I know that if I get a lot of sleep, if I just give up a few days, sleep early for a few days, all that motivation and serotonin and dopamine comes back. Where I'm like, okay, let's get back into routine. Option 2 is I've built my current checklist in a way where it's not hard to start. Like waking up is probably the hardest thing, but then I meditate for 5 minutes, and the meditation helps me get out of bed. And the exercise helps me make my breakfast, and I'm keen for eating oats and bananas. And doing that, I'm excited to go ahead and clear dishes. And I love my morning routine where I open up this browser bookmark folder and opens up 25 links on like Trello, Slack, Instagram, WhatsApp, my crypto trading, different things, and I just go through and I just knock them out, and it's pretty satisfying. In the end, there's even like a before I get to my end thing, there's like a shopping list of things that I'm looking for good deals on. So it's like a cool process. So I really been through enough downs to know that okay, it's normal to get off routine, and sleep should really usually do the trick to give me that motivation again and recovery to get me back on track. 2, building a routine that I sort of enjoy, and I really look at each bottleneck where things get tough and see, okay, how can I make it harder? One thing that was really hard was going straight to work after lunch. So I put in clean something. For some reason, after eating lunch, and if I clean something, I'm After I clean something, I'm like, all right, let's go get some work done. Whereas after I eat, for some reason, I feel like I should have watched some funny video before getting back to work. But since I'm no longer watching content, it was just weird. And on top of that, I was like, okay, what if I get, how do I know what to clean? So I have like a sort of revolving sort of checklist where things I haven't done in a while are okay. It says clean the couch. All right, clean the couch, bring it back to the top. So I wouldn't see that for another 30 days. So systemize that. And lastly, number three would be really being self-aware of all the bottlenecks, all the things that make it difficult for you to be on a routine, and come up with solutions against them, whether it's eating in silence, whether it's creating a checklist, whether it's setting an alarm and don't snoozing it until you actually follow through on that alarm, or setting a rule where you can't eat dinner until you end the day. So that'll be number three.
Yeah, dinner is an interesting one for me, just because dinner to me is not the end of my day, especially because on the Western Hemisphere, most of my teammates and the company, they're all starting their day by the time I'm done dinner. So oftentimes I will, after dinner, I'm getting on. That's actually one of the rare times that I can talk to my teammates in person. And so that is, I mean, again, we all have different paths to walk. So it's a particular challenge for me, but I do like the psychology of dinner represents the end of the day, and then everything that happens after that is, it's time to wind down and make your way to bed. So there's something left for me to think about for sure. But nonetheless, I really appreciate the way you systemize these, because how do I characterize it? So it might not always be the direct cure for a problem, but I think what happens is the cure just kind of comes up as a natural byproduct of doing something that we know is good for us anyways. So if if sleep happens to improve my motivation, it might not even be the sleep. It might be some other thing that I'm doing to make sure that I'm falling asleep earlier on in the day, or whatever it is. So there's always underlying psychology to all of it. So that's just my last takeaway before I let you on out of here.
Yeah, I think the last thing I wanted to add was, during this whole mindset journey, I was just not satisfied with not being happy every day. I was like, there must be a way where I can be productive, satisfied, and happy every single day. Like all the top entrepreneurs, they're consistent and happy every day. Like I've tried forcing out gratitude and forcing out perspective when I'm not motivated. I've tried so many things, and I was like not happy. And like I've had to learn things like embracing the lack of motivation, embracing that feeling of you don't want to get out of bed. I know that through completing tasks, I gain motivation, I gain satisfaction. By the end of the day, I'm always happy. And the best metaphor to accrue it to is a workout. How many people hate going to the gym? How many people know that the moment they go to the gym, they'll most likely complete their set? And how many people know that you probably don't like going to the gym, but you always feel amazing afterwards? Like every single gym set, I don't remember a session where afterwards I did not feel happy. I don't remember a session where I rocked up and I left after 10 minutes. When I rock up, I'm like, yeah, I might as well do it. That's the exact same thing with my whole day routine. There's days where I don't want to do it, but when I get started on it, most likely I'm going to finish it. I do have to optimize things to avoid the traps that I'm still getting into. So I'm still tweaking things, but I always feel amazing afterwards. And as a result, I'm able to be productive every day and feel happy every day. And I'm getting close to it. I'm getting close. I'm figuring it out. I'm much closer than I was 2-3 months ago. And it's an accumulation of every single thing I've tested to try to be more happier.
Well, I've had an interesting day today. So having this conversation with you, was the timing of it was almost predestined, if I'm being honest. So you've even done me a favor just being able to share some of this with me today. So with that, one more thank you for the road. Thank you. And then if you, we've been sharing a lot of wisdom. Usually the closing question is if you have like a quote or parting wisdom, you're welcome to share it. But I'd say you've more than filled that bucket. So I leave it to you. And then for the audience, in case they need to be reminded of what we were looking at earlier or to check our YouTube out, just once again, let the audience know where they should go find you. And as somebody who, some of your lessons, even from 8 months ago, have still stuck in my mind. And I just want my audience to understand the significance of it. And I really encourage them to check out what it is that you do on your YouTube.
Thank you so much, Joseph. I really, really appreciate those kind words. If you guys want to check my content out, just search up Andy Mai, Andy, A-N-D-Y, last name Mai, M-A-I. If you guys want to learn more about sort of how I sort of help people, check out studying.com. Really appreciate you letting me plug that. Finally, the last thing I want to leave with is anything is possible. Literally anything. If you want to be more happy, that's possible. If you want to be happy every day, that's possible. I'm not even talking about financially or having some cool car or being able to buy a Rolex. Like, I know that's possible, but the little things, like if you want to be happy every day, if you want to be confident, if you want to if you want to get ripped, anything is possible. And I think I fell into this trap where I was like, I literally thought maybe it's not possible to be happy all the time, but I'm striving for that to happen, and I think that's possible. I haven't reached that yet, but I'm not going to give up, and that's sort of what I want to leave with.
All right. Well, to my audience, as always, it is an honor and a privilege to be able to collect this information, share it with all of you. So you all know what to do at this point. Email podcast@debutify.com. Share your thoughts. Go check out Andy's content. Highly recommended. And with that, take care. And we will check in soon.
Face every day they wake up and walk out in the field.
Hey, this is Joseph from ECOMMERCE. Just wanted to thank you for being here and for giving this content your time and attention. I hope you learned something. I can say with certainty, I have learned something with every episode that I have done, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. There's a couple things you can do to help us out. If you want to check out the audio content, we are available on all major podcast platform distributors. And while you're there, give us a 5-star review. It helps a lot. And while you're here on YouTube, there's a lot of things you can do to help out as well. It's not going to take very long. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button for this episode, and hit the notification bell so when we have new content for you, it's going to be at your doorstep ASAP. Lastly, this podcast is created by Debutify, the best Shopify template available. It is 100% free for you to start, and it can change your life. It can make you so much more free than you are right now. So if this episode wasn't enough to convince you, I think a few more might do the trick. So have at it.